Ants are also, like bees in many places, very important pollinators. They help pollinate flowers and help flowers produce more seeds. Many ants, like harvester ants, are seed distributors. It's not just one role that ants have in the ecosystems. They have many roles depending on the species. Without ants, the world would fall apart.
So how did you get so interested in ants?
I can't explain it. As a kid, I always kept insects and bugs, but ants were always the ultimate.
What about them?
Being able to identify to them the most out of all animals in the animal kingdom. I just find ants are one of the most like humans. Keeping ants, I find, is like having your own little city.
When you were growing up, were there any family members who were interested in ants, or did it all just come to you?
Yeah, not quite. Kids would rather play baseball in the park, but me, I was at the park, but just not at the baseball diamond. I was in the sides looking for bugs, turning over rocks and logs and keeping them in little containers. And, I was the weird kid who disappeared from the kids for like a week and then showed up and go, guys, come to my house. I've got a bug zoo. It was always that kind of thing. I enjoyed showing nature.
You sell a lot of things on your YouTube site. Did you develop all those things?
When I started, I was in my late 20s and I didn't have a job. I didn't finish school because, well, that's another long story. I was pursuing entertainment business at the time. I figured, okay, I need a way to pay for my phone bill and random things like at the bar.
Right.
So I just decided, hey, why don't I sell the ant farms that I made at home, materials that I bought at, the department store, etc. And I launched the website. It was very bare bones, just on PayPal. And to my surprise, the very first day I launched, I had an order of over $200 from Thailand. It just kind of grew from there. I started making more ant farms, and both the YouTube channel and the store kind of rose together. They became their own sort of entities.
This giant ant farm that you have at your house, what do you call it? You have a name for it.
Oh, I've got a couple. But the most famous one, I think, is called the Ember Islands, which is essentially these like floating rock islands, like in the movie Avatar.
Right.
And the aquarium was designed with the help of my subscribers. They voted like what kind of theme, and they would all vote. And so this was the voted design. And it's really beautiful. It looks like floating rock islands, and the fire ants that live in there kind of built their colony in that world. And
how big is it? I mean, because you can't kind of tell.
It's about 100-gallon tank, so it's quite large.
Right. Is it there with you? Where is it? Is it there?
Oh, it's not here. No, it's in my. I actually moved here out in the jungle. That's another story. In the Rainforest mountains for a few months. But it's in my condo currently, where I live in Manila.
Do your neighbors know it's in there?
I believe so. And so far I haven't had a complaint. So
right. You got a queen ant, I suppose. And then what did you do? You put one queen ant down in the middle who was going to have babies, and then how does it grow?
Yes, that's a great question. And actually, I've got some queen ants that I've caught here in the rainforest here. So what happens is you place the ants in what is called, you catch a queen first off, like this one here.
Right.
And then you place her in what's called a test tube setup. This sort of area here resembles the claustral chamber that a queen ant would create in the wild after they mate. And this is where they lay eggs. So this is where they found a colony. And once there are young in the test tube, oh, did she lay eggs? I think that she'll lay eggs soon. You attach the test tube then to an ant farm, and the ants will sort of move in. So it's kind of a gradual process. You raise the ant in a test tube first.
Did you develop that yourself?
No, this raising of the queen ant in a test tube is kind of an ant keeping sort of practice. But what we did develop at the store are test tubes specifically for keeping queen ants like this. This is called the AC test tube. Here I am plugging my own products, but the queen ants raise their young here. It's got special teeth so that it doesn't roll on a table. Like this is a normal test tube. If I were to get down, it could roll off a table and break. But this one doesn't, and it also fits directly into our ant farm. So it just makes the entire ant keeping process easier for ant keepers.
Okay.
I want to go back to one question though. You said that they tell us everything we need to know about. They're the most like us of all the animals in the kingdom. Are they Are they animals or are they insects?
Yeah, they're insects and they're part of the animal kingdom. Yeah. And
What are the top 5 things that they do that we do? Like, I mean, you learn a lot. You said, what is it, the fundamental thing?
So, okay, here are 5 similarities between ants and humans. And it essentially has to do with the life problems that these societies have to deal with. So one example is daycare. So the young, they have to organize the young in a very systematic manner so that every child gets fed. There is no child that goes hungry in the ant world. They make sure every larva is fed at every stage, and every age of ant is kept in a certain chamber that best suits humidity requirements and space requirements, that kind of temperature requirements, that kind of thing. Their management of the young, the kids, the next generations is very similar. It's like kind of like school where we organize the kids in per age. Another thing is food distribution. They've got to be really systematic with how they deal with food. So they ship in food. It can't stick around for too long, otherwise it spoils. So, the ants have a certain system in consuming the food, and if food needs to be stored, they'll store it in their bodies. So, which is really kind of cool. They've got like refrigeration systems, I guess, in their bodies. Another thing is their disposal of the dead. Ants actually have to create graveyard sites. They can't just like let the bodies decay anywhere. So they create sites where they just dump the dead. It's also where they dump their garbage. So waste management is a very big thing that ants have to really watch for, because, living in underground moist societies, fungus and bacteria could just fester if you leave things around. So ants have to have a system. So they've got graveyard and garbage sites. Ants are masters at architecture. They build their nests in such a way that, air can flow through in certain ways that is, most suitable for the colony, where, carbon dioxide can leave. So it's really sort of interesting. And they will block off certain chambers so that they can store their garbage there and then let other soil creatures break that down. So, they're really,
so their model, but I mean, so they sound like it's a utopia. Do they ever go haywire like humans and, start eating their kids? I mean, not feeding them. I mean, we have a lot of kids get left behind, our human rights are not so
right
around the world.
I do feel like ants will eat their babies, but only in extreme circumstances when resources are not available. So sometimes they will eat the young to sustain themselves until food becomes available. A lot of ants will essentially die off if food doesn't become available. So it's kind of like a colony as a whole will self-preserve in a certain way. I wouldn't say it's like going haywire like humans would, but there are points when a colony could be stressed and they will adapt according to that stress. And sometimes it requires the death of some of the members.
Inside this colony, you have this big colony. Does it just grow to the size that the colony can support within that ecosystem, or does it go beyond that? And then, what happens?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ants, will essentially keep growing according to how much space they have, resources like food and water. But every species does have that sort of threshold where they reach sort of like a max state where they don't produce more. But it's usually in the hundreds or thousands.
Now, so you took a few and put them out in the ecosystem. How long did it take to fill it up? And did you see it developing, and, what happened?
I raised the fire ant colony in first a test tube, then moved them into an ant farm, and then just added ant farm units to that ant farm connected through tubes. And then when I found they reached a good million or so, I felt they were ready to move into a large 100-gallon terrarium. I like to just add to the living space as they grow, as opposed to moving a small, tiny colony in a massive tank right away. It just makes for better observation.
So how long did that take?
Oh, I think it took under a year. That colony, the fire ant colony, which my subscribers have named the Phoenix Empire.
Yeah.
I believe we started in February, and they had moved into a full-size tank by September or October, something like that. So it was only a few months.
Now, that moment when you opened up the big colony, how long did it take for them to recognize that was an opportunity and move the queen?
Oh, I believe it was a couple of days. When I connected through a tube their big ant farm setup to the terrarium, some ants traveled right away. They identified, hey, this is uncharted lands. This is awesome. This is totally great. So then they sent some workers back to the colony, and the colony had decided and voted as a whole to move. And I waited with my camera for a good, I think it was like 2 days. I stayed up like literally over almost 2 days to wait for this queen ant to move in. And I finally caught the queen ant moving in with her huge entourage. It was really a beautiful video, and it's truly an awesome thing to witness. The very first ants that scouted the terrarium, when a few of them had the idea to move in, they released a pheromone to try to recruit fellow ants in their colony to join their campaign. And eventually this viral message goes viral in the colony. So ants really kind of have their own social media, I suppose. And every ant has the choice to retweet, I guess, these viral messages. And eventually it becomes the colony's decision to move. So when it gets to the queen kind of prepares herself. They all just move en masse all together. All the babies start moving in. They carry the young. It's really an amazing thing.
Did any get left back?
No one gets left back. Every little baby, every little egg.
No ant left behind. No ant left behind, Jesse.
No one gets left behind.
And then do you shut access to the old world and they just live in the new world?
Yes. Eventually, when the queen has moved out, the most important member of the colony, because she's the one who lays the eggs, and the majority of the colony is out, all the babies are out, I disconnect the setup and empty out any remaining ants that might be in. And that's that. That's their new home. They from there on live in that terrarium.
Do you have to put food in there? Some kind of food?
Yes, absolutely. So you have to give them all their resources. So that means food, water, and you also have to act as their garbage man. So every week I'll go in and scoop the dead bodies and all their garbage, their leftover insect parts and that kind of thing. I'll scoop that out and that's it. And little tiny soil creatures will take care of the rest. And that's all you essentially need to do. Give them food, water, and clean their garbage.
Has ant behavior evolved? Like have you read about 100 years ago or a million, 1,000 years ago, like what's changing within the ant system?
I mean, the world of ants is really diverse. We're talking over 16,000 species and subspecies that we've discovered, that we've recorded to date, and many more that still need to be discovered. And the way their social structures are is just, it's so different. Like we all know the iconic one queen, and she lays all the eggs. But there are other types of ant colony structures, I suppose, where, for example, several together, and they will found a colony together. And that's called polygyny. Another structure is where there is no queen. It's just a bunch of workers, and one worker acts as the egg layer, and she's the only one allowed to mate. That's called the gamergate system. There are so many different kinds. They're constantly evolving. Essentially, they all came from millions of years ago, a wasp-like insect that, for whatever reason, branched out into this whole world of having that one queen lay the eggs and the rest following her.
Now, what happens when the queen passes, when she dies?
Okay, that's a good question. So in a normal circumstance where we're talking the queen laying all the eggs and she's the egg layer in the colony, for that kind of ant system, if the queen dies, the whole colony dies. Because, I mean, the remaining workers live out their normal lives and they eventually die, because the workers live typically 1 to 2 months. But the queen, she'll live for, well, some species, it's up to 30 years. So when she reaches the end of her life, which actually happened on my channel when one of my queen ants died, the workers eventually fizzle out. They go from 1 million workers to like nothing.
So you can't put a new queen in?
No, because they will kill her. Typically, ants can't really mix. There are some exceptions, but colonies versus, like if you were to stick a foreign queen ant into a colony, they would kill her.
So how do you find the blue ant?
Oh, the blue ant. Okay, so now you're talking about a video where I went into the rainforest. Yeah.
So were you out there to hunt the blue ant, or were you just...
No, I was just kind of partying there for my birthday. And all of a sudden I saw these beautiful gorgeous blue metallic ants that just blew my mind. I had only seen them in books, but it never occurred to me that they would be in that rainforest where my friends and I were partying at the time.
Well, was the party over at the point you saw the blue ant and
That's what
see you
I'm-
guys? I got to go hunting.
Yeah, I kind of broke off, but they expect this from me. They partied on their own while I was out like having my beer and filming these beautiful blue ants. They're like, that's just Mikey doing his thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're such a beautiful species. I hope to revisit that rainforest to try to look for a colony of them because just they're the most beautiful ants I've ever seen.
I mean, do you have a temptation to try and take the colony and bring it back to your condo?
Yeah, there is that temptation, but there's, it's kind of like a struggle between my love for ant keeping versus my love for ants' well-being in the wild. Like, I don't want to chop up a tree and grab this wild colony of blue ants just to film the video. So I think the most ethical way would be to find a queen blue ant and then stick her in a test tube and then try to raise a colony from that. I think that's the least negative impact.
Is it possible to find a queen just walking around on the ground?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. The way ant keepers get these queen ants is all ant species have like a mating season.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you guys recall ever seeing ants with wings. See, like this here,
Mhm.
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
wings, right?
Yeah.
Those are queens and young males. And so once a year, every species has their day or two where they fly up into the air and they mate. So our job as ant keepers is to find these queen ants that have broken off their wings because it means that they had mated and try to put them in a test tube. And that's how we raise colonies. So going back to the rainforest, if I find a blue queen ant, that's like hitting gold.
Now, are there parts of the world you would want to go to see specific ant colonies, or have you seen most of them?
Yeah. There's certain areas in the world that are very well known for their biodiversity that I still haven't discovered yet, that I haven't explored rather, like South America. Obviously, my dream is to visit the Amazon basin and check out the leafcutter ants that live there. These are ants that go up in the trees and they cut up leaves and they bring these leaves back to their nest and they farm fungus from these leaves. And that's what the colony eats. So that is another awesome species and world I'd love to discover. Bullet ants, some of the largest ants in the world, whose queens are like this big, they're huge. I'd love to go check those out in South America. Madagascar is another place I'd love to visit, also highly known for their biodiversity. And of course, Australia.
Now, Mikey, we all know, I mean, we're told, I don't know this as a scientist, but that, without the bees, for example, we'd be screwed. What do the ants do for our world as well? What is the kind of essential meaning?
Great question. Ants are one of the most important decomposers, or detritivores rather, of ecosystems worldwide. So they're the ones that come in, they eat dead bodies of animals, they collect insects that have died, and they essentially bring that nutrients back to the soil. They are also important predators in many ecosystems. For example, army ants and driver ants from South America and Africa, respectively. They go in and they clean up house. When you have an army ant trail running through the rainforest, they go and they eat everything in sight. Frogs, small birds, insects. And so they're important predators in the worlds they're from. Ants are also, like bees in many places, very important pollinators. So they help pollinate flowers and help flowers produce more seeds. They many ants, like harvester ants, are seed distributors. Wow. So they distribute seeds far, far into other places, help plants that way. And so it just goes on and on. The list it's not just one role that ants have in the ecosystems. They have many roles depending on the species, and they're definitely super important. They also make great prey. Without ants, the world would fall apart as well.
What kind of people collect ants?
Nerds like me.
Have you met a lot of interesting people out there who have the same passion?
The ant keeping hobby, when I first started, it was very small, particularly in North America. And it was like this niche community in Europe. And, since starting the channel and since the channel grew, I've really been witness to a growing and flourishing ant keeping community. If you just type in ant keeping forum, there's tons of forums of literally hundreds and thousands of kids and even adults like myself who keep ants. And, speaking of interesting people, the creator of The Simpsons, Matt Groening, they reached out to me because their son loves ants and loved the channel. So eventually I found myself Zooming with the Groenings and talking about ants, and it just blew my mind because I grew up on The Simpsons, right? That was my staple. And it's just really amazing how awesome the ant keeping community is and how active and passionate they are.
When you see ants portrayed in movies and stuff, how do you feel about it? Because it's it's like a horror film with ants and stuff like that. Do you
What movie are you talking about? I never
there's there's a movie called The Ant. There's movies with ants.
When I watch ant movies, I tend to get distracted, like Ant-Man. Or ants, or life, things like that. I get distracted because instead of paying attention to the storyline and the character development, etc., I'm like dissecting, that's not how it should be. This is a male.
Oh, you're doing the continuity. You're like the AG on the set. Like, okay.
I start criticizing, just ignore, these are not scientists, Mikey, just ignore it. I end up getting distracted by these little
Actually,
details.
speaking of scientists, do you have a good, group of folks that I'm sure people want to be around you, right? So what's your circle like of people that you reach out to?
Yeah, I have a lot of entomologist friends. Entomology is the study of insects, and myrmecologist friends, which is the study of ants. I've been lucky enough to meet some of the world's top myrmecologists in the world, and meeting them blew my mind. Like, for example, in the California Academy of Sciences, when I was there visiting for other work, I was like, I gotta go visit the California Academy of Sciences and I gotta meet Dr. Brian Fisher. He is like the ultimate, he's one of the biggest ant scientists. So he's my friend now. I've got an ant scientist.
Now, what happened when you went to meet him? Did you have lunch? Did you come into a room with a bunch of ant colonies?
He gave me
Was it a dark, strange room and his back was to you and then he slowly turned out of the light? What was
exactly
it like?
that. It was exactly that. He took me to his lab and then he took me to the vault. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm seeing the vault. The vault is like this huge worldwide record of like specimens of ants that from all over the world in these massive like drawers. And it looks like a library. And it's in literally it was a vault. Like he had to, it's protect the field. Oh, it was just heaven.
And what was in there? What was in the vault?
Different species of ants from all over the world. And
so did he pull one out for you and then pull another one out?
He pulled me out a shelf and I died. I just couldn't believe this collection of
they dead or alive?
Dead.
They're dead. They're on pins.
Got it.
Little labels.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but what he does is their group documents all the ant species we've ever discovered in the world. So if you log on to antweb.org, you can see all the species that they've photographed using high definition cameras. All the species that we've ever discovered in the world. And there's a number at the top which is the number of ant species they've discovered, and that number is always constantly updating every day.
Well, it must be an endless amount. Like it'd be impossible to even count them all.
It's just unbelievable. If you go through antweb.org, you'll see just the sheer number of ant species there are in the world.
Amazing. Tell everybody where to go to watch all your ants, the actual URL.
Yeah, you can find us on YouTube. Just type in AntsCanada. There are hundreds of videos on ants and their epic stories. And I hope to see you guys online. If you have any questions, feel free to message us through our various social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, YouTube, even on TikTok. So,
and apparently the ants are too, according to the legend Mikey, right? They have their own.
Yeah, the ants are everywhere. Go check your backyard. You might find a new species.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You guys so
Great
much.
to meet you.